Be sure and tell them Large Marge sent ya.
In the 90s, we were just teeny tykes. We liked our movies and our bikes. We wanted to be DJs, but we were just teeny gals. So we went off to college and we remained as pals. 20 years later, we're still watching flicks and we're bringing you the feeling bit by bit. Sweetie and sweetie, we're here to say it's the Large Marge Santa's podcast. Hey.
Hey guys, welcome to the Large Marge Santa's podcast, your favorite podcast where two sweetie sisters talk about their favorite flicks and spooky movies from their childhood. I'm Sweetie with a Y.
And I'm Sweetie with an IE.
And tonight we're never sleeping again.
I've got nightmares. Nightmares on
Elm Street. Wes Craven, my man, my boy, love him. He's made so many solid flicks, you guys. I'm talking about this fucking movie. I'm talking about fucking Scream, fucking,
Any others?
yeah, but like not ones that people are like excited about. They're like the rape ones, but Last House on the Left, obviously huge. People Under the Stairs, like weird movie. Like he's done a lot, but this is his, I think his probably most famous, definitely his most iconic character that he's created. Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah, from 1984. So my history of this film goes back, I'd say, video store. I think we've talked about this before. We'd be walking around the video store. We'd go into the horror section. Now, the horror section always had the good VHS covers, right? The covers that would scare you before you even saw the movie.
Yeah.
So here's what I remember. I remember walking by this one and being totally fucking creeped out. I just took another peek of it. So it's like Nancy on the bed, and it doesn't really look like the actress. It's a little bit more like
Sexy.
That's right. and her eyes her eyes are open like super wide, and there's like this big, basically the Freddy Krueger hands
like a
coming
drawing?
to get her. Yeah, I have it up.
Or this is the back. Because I was into the back. The back of horror movies were the best, right?
Okay.
Yeah,
so
I know this one.
Really just really fucked me up. So as I said many times, never watched horror movies. This is definitely one I was most scared of as a child. Stayed as far away from this as possible. Seemed to me really bloody, really scary. I mean, the guy was like sketchy hobo man with like a worm-eating face and knives for fingers. I mean, the scariest thing imaginable, right? To a little kid. So I stayed really far away from that and only watched this movie for the first time. Actually, Sweetie Jimmy just brought it up as he was here, that we watched it together like 2 years ago when we had just started dating. So there you have it. So my recollection of this movie is that I was scared to death and never would watch it in a million years when I was a little kid. But as we had said about Child's Play, how much Freddy Krueger was woven into pop culture, the fabric of our lives. What is that, cotton? Yep.
That's it.
Yep. Growing up, it was a thing, right? Probably like the scariest thing alive was Freddy Krueger.
But he was also in that same place as Chucky as comedy. Scary, but also funny. So he kind of became this weird, like, cartoonish character that, like, little boys loved.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm thinking,
feel like big Halloween costume. Right?
Yeah. And it's like, he's a child molester.
Yeah. Murderer. Child murderer.
What's a child murderer? Obviously, he was a child molester. They just didn't say it.
Well, I read in the IMDb trivia that they were going to make him a molester, but it had something to do with like the California at that time and actual child molesters. Something.
Well, in later ones, I think it's definitely
okay. So they made him like a murderer.
Obvious, but and in the remake, it certainly was that. So. Yeah, no one just like kills kids. They're like always up to some devious creepiness.
That's what made him so evil.
But yeah, so I don't know when the first time I saw this was. It was probably one that I stumbled upon just on TV or at a sleepover or something. But I don't have a distinct memory of watching it. But I know I definitely saw most of it because when I did my horror blog, this was one of the ones that I had definitely seen before. So I just don't remember exactly when. But I do remember being traumatized by the VHS cover of one of the sequels, Nightmare on Elm Street, like 4 or 5.
Oh.
Where like a giant Freddy Krueger head was like eating somebody under a bed. I don't know. It was just like burned in my brain. But I guess more so it's the character of Freddy. And I remember actually watching a lot the newer sequel, Wes Craven's New Nightmare, A Nightmare on Elm Street. Well, so I'm talking about the back of the box where it like showed you some scenes from it.
I remember that now. Yep.
Like that was a little different and a little scarier than like the front cover. So I would always turn them over and be like, oh my God, scenes. So that's my main memory. But definitely love this movie. I think it's one of the better of the horror slasher sequels, if you will. It's a little outside of the norm slasher movie, obviously, because he's in your dreams. He's everywhere. He's like not really real, so it's confusing.
Artfully slashy in the sense that it isn't straight up. And what's cool is because it takes place in the dream world, that some of the violence it's in the dream that you don't see, but you see it in the real world. So it's really just like the blood aftermath, let's say. So that like puts a cool spin on it.
Yeah, it's different.
I really enjoyed it. The first time I watched it, I was like super, super blown away. And then watching it now, I definitely like forgotten some parts and was blown away again. There you have it.
Wow.
Two times blown away. So who's in this movie? So from 1984, as we said, so predates the Sweeties by 1 year for me. 2 for Sweetie with a Y here. But the stars are Heather Langenkamp as Nancy, the heroine, and a kick-ass one, if you will.
Yeah. She rocks.
She rocks, and I think I've said this before, but I've been so pleasantly surprised in that a lot of horror movies equal really female empowerment movies, I'd say, because a lot of the protagonists are these women who actually like survive till the end.
Final girls.
Yeah, final girls. They're terrorized by the killer, but end up being super smart and getting them at the end. So I kind of
usually
didn't. I don't know. I think you think of these horror movies as like women getting killed or violence against women, which they do. But I guess I wasn't aware that like a lot of times it's a heroine that survives, right? The final girls concept, as you said. Anyways, Johnny Depp in his first movie, guys, crazy young.
Small baby.
He is, wow, he's just so young in this. He's so cute. He's Nancy's boyfriend, Glenn. Really means well, but dude.
Just can't get it together. I don't know what his problem is. I mean, he's an athlete, so like I know he can try and like do stuff. It's confusing.
Yeah.
What an asshole, though.
Sweetie, but like what an asshole. Exactly. Like you are a loser. Robert Englund, so it looks like England, but with a U, is Freddy Krueger. Excellent, I might add. Holy cow, creepy as fuck. So for him, I'd say like it's his physical movements that drive me like absolutely makes my skin crawl. Just like the way he like moves around, he's like la, 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 la,
with like the wacky arms or his real arms.
No, wacky arms, real arms, whatever. He's just creepy.
Yeah, he's definitely a lot more like I wasn't sure if they had like if it was him the whole time, because like sometimes he looked really short and I was like that can't be him, and then he would be like normal again. So maybe they used a couple different people for the like physical motions of it, but he does. He's done this character for the whole series except for the remakes, or the remake singular, and he's just talk about iconic.
I guess Wes Craven thought he could cast just a stuntman in this because there wasn't really like lines you could easily like dub some voice in or something like that, but then he realized he did need to go with like an actor for it, so he did cast this guy. Robert Englund said he modeled his portrayal of Freddy Krueger on Nosferatu, another one of your favorites, the old vampire. So what a creepy bastard. We'll go into it more. There's so much detail with him in like his disgustingness. John Saxon is the dad cop. Dad cop. Yeah. Means well, but tough stitch for that guy. Tough stitch.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's a really far-fetched story, right? Dream guy in my dreams kill me. Yeah. But here's the thing, though. The evidence was pretty high, stacked pretty high. Like, Nancy was literally in a bed being observed by scientists and pulled a hat out of nowhere and got cut up. So, like, they should have accepted it. But whatever.
Weird
adults, blah, blah, blah.
And then Amanda Weiss is Tina at the beginning. Just shout out to her. I thought that was a good role. Poor Tina.
Tragic.
That was
Tragic
Tina.
Tina.
And then, as obviously Wes Craven, director, writer, his whole concept. But fascinating movie. He conceptualized this from this actual true life story about Asian death syndrome. It was called. So in California, they had these incidents of Southeast Asian refugees from the Hmong tribe. Is that how you pronounce that? Hmong.
I have no idea.
So from Cambodia, who were escaping Pol Pot. Remember that scary dictator killed
Pol,
hundreds of thousands of people?
Terrible.
And so what happened is they would have this terrible nightmare. And this is real life, guys. I'm not making this up. A terrible nightmare to the point that they would not want to go to sleep. So then they'd have sleep deprivation. Once they were so exhausted, they'd finally fall asleep and then have a nightmare and die. So they never could figure it out. They didn't have a heart attack. They just died. So weird. So Wes Craven read that story and was very fascinated about this concept of basically dying from a nightmare. And thus Nightmare on Elm Street was born.
Okay.
He conceptualized Freddy Krueger. The name is, there's a real Freddy Krueger out there, guys.
What?
Scary.
Sad.
It was a guy who he shared a paper route with who bullied him. Oh my God.
That's what you get, motherfucker.
Which totally makes sense because Freddy, little boy, Freddy Krueger.
Yeah, little asshole that you hate.
Yeah, totally. And then the look of the hat, which is what style hat is that? Would you say?
It's the kind that Don Draper wears.
Okay, yeah, whatever. Right. Okay.
Fedora.
So is it a fedora?
Yeah, I think it's a fedora.
Okay. But obviously, had seen some better days.
Yeah.
It's rumpled.
Well, he got burned,
Yeah,
got burned
funny.
up.
And then the kind of iconic red and green sweater, right? That's super dirty and gross. So he saw a hobo through the window when he was 10. I don't know, of his house window. Where did he live? Is this
he
a weird
Don Draper?
IMDb trivia falsehood? Who knows?
Maybe.
But apparently it was a hobo he saw that always stuck with him and basically gave him nightmares that he modeled the look of Freddy Krueger on.
Saboke.
Very, very interesting there. And then as far as the knife hands, he did some research and found out that a primal fear in all cultures is animal claws. So he mimicked that with the Freddy Krueger knife hands.
Very cool.
Which are actually tomato knives on the end of those. Did you know that?
A knife specially made for
Apparently
tomatoes?
there's a knife. Right. I'm missing out on
Yeah.
because I need one.
Are we talking about all tomatoes?
I thought
Cherry
it was
tomatoes?
serrated knives that you cut tomatoes with, but apparently not. There's a tomato knife.
I don't know. Seems strange.
Yeah. So there you have it. That's a lot. That's
Fascinating.
A lot of facts right there.
Fascinating. A lot of
Didn't you
trivia
learn
right off
so
the top.
much? I know.
I did. I knew that the idea of it, where it came from. I knew that. I don't think I knew about tomato knives.
Yeah. Tomato
Question mark. I'm still.
But
I don't even know what that is.
Huge movie at the time. So whoever I guess Wes Craven wrote this story in the 70s and peddled it around for a lot of places. Finally, someone latched onto it, and then whoever, I forgot, New Line Cinema or something was the movie house of this, and they were in dire straits with money, and this movie, they were able to get this movie, produce it, whatever, and it made a boatload of money. So it was huge popular right off the bat. You can imagine, I've said many times, I'm so jealous of when this stuff was coming out in the 80s, when you'd be okay guys, let's go see Nightmare on Elm Street, yeah, and be so scared and be with all your friends at the movies. For us, I mean, I guess that was Scream, but I was too scared to see those.
We missed out, but maybe people were thinking that back then, that was,
They missed out because they didn't want to see
the Midnight in Paris thing, where it's everybody thinks the generation before them has the good stuff, but
it was good stuff.
Yeah, but to
have a
them, like,
podcast
it
about
wasn't
it.
at the time. I don't know. Whatever. I mean, we still have good stuff. We have iPhones now. I'm always going to be thankful for that whenever I watch these movies. And I'm like, damn, like, not that an iPhone would have helped Nancy in this situation, but I just, like, when she, like, sets her, like, watch timer, like, 10 minutes, you know, like, it's an ancient relic. And I'm like, oh, today you would just be like, boop, boop, 10 minutes. It'd be like, Alexa, 10 minutes. So things have changed. But, yeah. Anyways.
Yeah.
So, sorry. Long intro. Anything else before we crank this off?
Nah.
All right.
It's time for the sweet synopsis. Yeah.
Sweeties. I'm your boyfriend now.
That was great.
Sweeties.
I'm your boyfriend now. Oh, what's the hall pass one? Nancy, you need a hall pass? Fuck your hall pass.
It's true. We don't care. I mean, my friend was just
Yeah, what's
murdered,
up with
so who
What's
fucking
up with
cares?
the hall passes, yo? Is that still a thing?
No, I don't know. We didn't really have like halls.
We didn't. We didn't have the hall pass thing. So whenever I see these movies,
It was just
I'm
like, I'm going to the bathroom. Like, that's where usually someone was going. Like, it wasn't a big deal.
Do you remember in high school if you'd ask to go to the bathroom, or were there some teachers that you could just go?
I think it must have been a mix. There was
Yeah.
usually like a pass. There was definitely a bathroom pass.
A bathroom pass.
I remember that.
Okay.
And like, wouldn't they be like super gross? Because like people were like,
Ew.
I mean, hopefully they wash their hands, but like kids, please, who knows?
Yeah.
Probably not. I know I peed my pants once on the floor, and you know, it was stressful.
I have this memory. I'm not sure if it happened or not, or if I dreamed it. That I was wearing khaki pants in Spanish class, and I got my period, and I was like, so. You know when you like
I hope
got your
not.
period through your pants and you were convinced
My
like your
friend,
whole
that
butt
happened
was
to
red,
her. She
but
was
it
like,
never was.
we'd always be like, "Can you check if I have a stain on my butt?" And then one time we did, and she
Oh my
turned around and she
God.
had khaki pants
Oh
on and
my
a huge
God, that
stain.
was my worst fears.
Maybe
Like,
that's what it is.
I think that happened in Spanish class, and luckily,
it
like I
sounds like
had
you-
a shirt or something to wear around my waist, but it was so
Of
clearly
course, you
obvious.
always
that-
had a shirt around your waist when you had your period, just in
Yes,
case.
yes.
Sometimes I would just wear it just because I was like convinced that I would always have a stain on my butt.
Yes. Oh my God, this is high
Fears.
school in
Forget
a nutshell.
Freddy
this
Krueger.
is Nightmare on Elm Street right here, guys. Periods in high school is a nightmare.
on Period Street. The new movie, really. Forget Freddy Krueger. Let's talk about menstruation. So, synopsis. Dun, dun, dun. Okay. Nancy Thompson is a high schooler who's, having a good time, except her and her friends are all experiencing weird shared nightmares. We're not sure what that's about. So her friend Tina has been having these creepy nightmares of like some creepy guy stalking her in a boiler room, and there's like lambs. It's weird. Nancy just like, sees a guy with knives.
For hands.
For hands.
Or fingers.
Fingers. Tomato knives, if you will.
Let's get specific.
Nancy's dating Glenn, who I don't think he's talked about the shared
He hasn't
nightmare.
had any, has he?
I guess not. But Rod, Tina's on again, off again fling person, maybe
Rapist.
boyfriend, I don't know, rapist boyfriend, definitely has had nightmares of this guy as well. So, but it really seems to be affecting Tina the most. So she asks Nancy and Glenn to come over because she's afraid. She doesn't want to be alone. She's really scared of these nightmares. And then like creepy Rod comes over and takes her to the bedroom. They have sex. That night, Tina has another nightmare with this guy whose name is Freddy Krueger. If you don't know, you probably know. And she gets killed basically in her dream by Freddy Krueger. And then in the real life, she's still sleeping in the bed next to Rod, and he watches just like her skin open up and like blood everywhere and gets like dragged across the top of the ceiling, poltergeist style. Very, very gruesome, very bloody. Tina's dead. Rod flips out, like bolts out the window because it's like, who's ever going to fucking believe that this girl just was murdered by invisible hands? Like, I mean, I don't support him running away, but I get it. Like, I get why he ran away because, like, no one's going to believe that. So Nancy and Glenn bust in. They're like, what the fuck? They see Rod gone. They're like, I don't think Rod did this. Seems weird. They know this backstory about the nightmares. So Nancy's like, interesting. Okay. So trauma, right? Like you walk into your like best friend, like bloody and cut up and dead. Nancy like goes to school the next day. It seems like it didn't seem like there was a grieving period.
She gave some reason for it, and now like I can't remember because her mom tried to make her stay home, and she's like, she didn't want to be at home just like thinking about it in her room, I guess. So, but she was like cracked out. She obviously like didn't get any sleep. So she's in English class. They're doing Shakespeare a play or something like that, right? And
Julius Caesar.
And she looks to her side, hears this noise, looks like out the classroom door, and there is Tina in a body bag, all blood inside, being like, Nancy, Nancy. And then like a pool, and then it disappears, and then there's this pool of blood. So she's like freaking the fuck out, goes out there and follows the pool of blood. So she's gets stopped by like the hall monitor person, and she's like, do you have a hall pass? And that's when she's like, I don't care about your fucking hall pass. So she goes and is following this trail of blood. The hall pass lady like creepily has this red and green sweater, just like Freddy Krueger, and is talking in the weird Freddy Krueger voice. So come to find out that this is a dream, right?
Who knew?
She is dreaming.
In school. Yeah. So she, goes to the boiler room. Before this, they talked about like how do you wake yourself up from a bad dream, and Glenn had said something about like, I just say like it's just a dream, and then that helps. So when Nancy goes to the boiler room, obviously she meets Freddy like face on, and he's very scary. He's like all burned up and has the knives. And he's like backing her into a corner, and she's just screaming like, it's a dream, it's not real. And then she puts her arm on the like radiator thing that's blowing like hot steam off of it. So it's super hot. Burns her skin and then wakes up. And that's what wakes her up back in the class. And she's just like freaking out. And the teacher's like, whoa. Like,
Time to call your mom.
Time to go home, girl. And so she's like, yeah, I'm going to go home. So she's kind of freaking out now because she's like, okay, I did that thing. Like I hurt myself in the dream and now I'm like hurt in real life. What the fuck is going on here? She thinks that it's like she's dreaming about something that's going to happen later, which doesn't really make sense to me because like that's not really what's happening. So it's confusing. So Nancy's really kind of starting to like, let's figure this out. So she has a couple more like incidences of Freddy because she's like trying her best not to go to sleep, but she's just, can't help but nod off because she hasn't slept in like 5 days. She tries a thing where she tries to get, I'm like losing the movie body bag. And then the next event is the sleep study.
I think so.
Maybe?
Yeah.
So, but there's like some incident that like
the kid in jail.
The kid in jail?
Rod.
Oh, Rod. So, Nancy does the thing where she like asks Glenn to wake her up, and if he sees her struggling, like if she's having a bad dream, wake her up. And so that's Glenn's only job. And so she starts dreaming, and then in the dream she finds her way to the police station or they did catch Rod eventually. He came to talk to Nancy, and her dad had her followed. So they have him now, and he's in jail. So she, in the dream, goes to his cell and sees him and sees Freddy like come in the cell and like start stringing like the sheets around his neck like he's going to hang him. So she's freaking out. It's not working. Like Glenn's not waking her up. She's freaking out, screaming. And then the alarm clock she had set goes off. And so, but does Freddy attack her before?
No, he doesn't attack her, but he follows her. She follows him to the police station
Right.
where he's like in
Right,
the
right.
cell with Rod. But then she does like wake up out of that, right?
And then she tries to tell her dad or Glenn or whatever
to the
that
police
like
station.
they go to the police station like Rod's gonna be dead, and so they go, and that is what happened. So that's why she thinks she like can see, she's seeing the future, but really she's just seeing like so in my head, I don't know if this is true or not, but like right now thinking about it, I'm like, is it a thing where whoever like sees Freddy in their dreams, all of their nightmares are kind of connected? So like even though Freddy was with Rod at the time, when Nancy went to sleep, she was able to go to where Freddy was, which was with Rod. If that makes sense.
Isn't Nancy just like the center person because of the connection with her mom?
Oh, I don't know.
That's what
Maybe.
I think. I think she's was always the target,
Well, I
and
think
he's
they're-
kind of like killing people around her.
I think they're all kind of like targets because he's targeting parents of the
And they
people
all
that
were
killed
in
him.
that
I
neighborhood?
guess,
Yeah.
yeah. They live across the street from Glenn, right?
Okay.
So that has to be it. It doesn't make a ton of sense, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. But so anyways, after that whole trauma and she goes to the funeral and like kind of freaks out, her mom takes her to like a sleep study place where they hook you up to a bunch of machines and they're like, now we're going to watch how you sleep. She doesn't want to do it at first, but then she's like, okay, yeah, I guess I am like in a lab with doctors. So hopefully like they would wake me up if something bad happened. So they hook her up to the machines. They start watching the things and then like she's doing like normal dream stuff at first. And then all of a sudden her numbers like go off the chart and the guy's like, I've never seen this before. And she's like flipping out in the bed and they run in there and they wake her up and Nancy's hair has turned like white in like 2 strands. And she pulls out the dirty old Freddy hat from under the sheets. And her mom's like, where did you get that? And she's like, I took it off his head and brought it with me. So you're like, what? That is nuts. And then, so now she's really like, Mom, how can you not believe me? Because I pulled this hat. It even has this guy's name on it. His name is Fred Krueger. This is the guy. And her mom's like, what are you talking about? And like freaks out. So her mom's drunk, an alcoholic, and gets drunk. And eventually she tells Nancy that, okay, when you said that was Fred Krueger, like that freaked me out a little bit, but listen, he's dead. And I know that because I killed him. And the story goes that Fred was like killing a bunch of kids when everybody was little, when all the kids were little, I guess, in the neighborhood. So I'm assuming that means when Nancy was little.
Yeah. So like, let's say 10 years ago or something.
Yeah. And so the parents got together, or he gets caught by the police, but then there's like some paper trail that's like fucked up. So he ends up getting set free, which is like crazy, but does happen, as you know, Bill Cosby. And so the
parents follow him.
Yeah, they follow him
to the boiler room
to
where
the
he
old
lived?
boiler room where he used to take the kids.
Oh, where he used to take the
to like
kids to
kill them or like do gross things. They pour gasoline all over the place, light it up, and burn them alive. And then for some reason, Nancy's mom is like, "Oh, I need a souvenir from this
She's
horrible
a weirdo,
thing, so I'm
huh?
going to take this guy's knife hands, his glove with the tomato knives." And she shows Nancy that she hasn't. She's like, see, he won't hurt you anymore. And it's like, bitch, she's been saying this whole time that he's in her fucking nightmares. Like, I don't think it matters that he's dead. I think that's part of the problem, actually. Yeah. So Nancy's like, what the fuck? So now she's like, whoa, this is fucked up. But she knows because she took that hat out of the dream that she thinks that she can like get him out of the dream as well. Right. So she now concocts this plan to pull Freddy out from the dream world into her world so that she can like fuck him up and like get rid of him. So she enlists Glenn, poor Glenn's help, to again stay up, and Glenn falls asleep.
Give that guy some no-dos.
At this point, Nancy's mom has gone cuckoo bananas and has locked the house up from the inside. Put bars on all the windows, lock the door, doesn't give Nancy the key. So Nancy's
locked in the house. How do you get bars on
house.
your windows that quickly? That turnaround.
I know.
Bars. Also, it sounded like she like picked them up from the hardware store. Like
according
she did
to
it
Glenn.
herself.
Yeah. Weird.
Wow, that woman is quite talented.
And they were like custom fit to like the little windows and the big windows. I don't think so. I don't think so. So yeah, so Glenn falls asleep. Freddy gets him. It's like this crazy scene where he gets like pulled into the mattress and then all this like blood geyser shoots up and it's wild. So Glenn's dead. Nancy's like, Dad, like you have to listen to me. Like I can go get this guy, but you have to help me. Like come break down the door in 20 minutes. Like I'll have him. So she's like, I got to do this on my own as fucking per usual. Thanks a lot, Glenn, R.A.P. But like, what the fuck? So she goes in the dream world. She has a tussle with Freddy. She had to set her watch for 10 minutes or whatever so that when she knew that when that goes off, she's going to wake up. So she has to make sure she grabs Freddy within that, like those last few seconds. So that's what she does. Grabs him, wakes up, is like, oh, it didn't work because it seems like everything's back to normal. And then all of a sudden, Freddy jumps out from like the floor and she's like, ah. And so then she's in motion. So she's also set up all these like booby traps before this, Kevin McAllister style. Like
Data style,
like gunpowder and light bulbs and all these like, I'm like, whoa, how does this bitch know how to do all this shit?
I know. Very impressive.
Yeah, I'm so impressed. And so she starts running through like all those traps and like trying to get Freddy. So Freddy gets like hit with hammers and he seems to be getting hurt, which I guess is a case of him being pulled into the real world, which seems to be the key here. And then the dad comes in, and there's a fire. She goes to the basement, lures him, throws all this gasoline on him, and then lights it up so it burns him. Goes back upstairs. Her dad breaks down the door. Finally, they get in. No one's down there, but there are flaming footprints going across the living room up to the mom's room. And so they go up there, and Freddy's like on top of the mom and, to roast her body. And then the dad puts like a blanket over them and like puts the fire out. And then when they uncover it, it's just her mom's like smoldering skeleton just like gets like sucked into the bed and disappears. And her dad's watching this, and it's like, what is he thinking at that moment? Like, wow, I really just saw my ex-wife's body get sucked into the mattress. What? And so the dad at that point is just like, I got to get out of here, and like leaves Nancy. And Nancy's like, okay, all right, mom's gone. Okay. And then Freddy's back. And she's like, listen, Freddy, I know you're back there. And this is the other thing that her and Glenn talked about, is that like you take away the power of the thing that scares you by like turning your back on it and being like, I'm not afraid of you anymore. So that's essentially what she does here with Freddy. And she's like, I just want my life back. I want my friends back. You don't mean anything now. You're gone. And so then it's like this like, foggy whatever minute. And then like this weird alternate reality where she steps out of the house with her mom and her friends are there to pick her up, but then the car turns into like a Freddy Krueger car, and then Freddy bursts through the window and pulls her mom back in, and that's how it ends. So it's like this weird ambiguous kind of like ending. I think that like everything happened and then like Freddy just like went away after this and didn't come back to her until like one of the sequels he comes back, but I think that's what happened. And then like that, we can just forget about that last like 2 minutes or whatever of that like weird hazy dream world, because it doesn't add up. And I wonder if the studio like made him put that in because it's just so weird.
Well, here's my take on it. I think that she did like make him go away, but that was just another dream of hers that he does like still appear to her in dreams or something like that. I don't know.
Okay, yeah, that works.
Yeah, so it's just like she hasn't been able to like get rid of him.
Yeah. It's full moon. It's full moon. There might be dogs. It's a child. It's a child howling at them.
Where stuff's going on here, guys. Yeah, it just seems like maybe you can like never get rid of him or something like that, because it's like it didn't seem like he could really even be killed in the real world, because like once he was smothered with the blanket, he was on fire, but then he just disappeared back into the dream world with the mom.
Yeah, I don't know.
So like where does it's just a never ending kind of cycle, I guess. So Nancy, you ain't never sleeping. I mean, sorry.
And in the sequels he moves on to different people, like different kids. I forget the deets, but they're all kind of like connected in that he's trying to, it's that whole thing about like, he's staying relevant basically by popping up in everyone's nightmares. And then when people forget him is when like his soul like dies, I guess would be the assumption. Yeah, I suppose.
Because really is the perfect crime, right? Because he like is doing all these murders in people's dreams, but he can't be caught, in real life. And then, sometimes the bodies just like disappear. Like it's not clear to me whether like, okay, so Tina, yes, it was like, oh my God, she was murdered because there was a bloody body left over. And then Rod, he was strangled. But then like, what happened to Glenn? Like, was it just a lot of blood?
Yeah, that's what they said.
And then the mom like body disappeared into the dream world.
Missing person case, basically.
Exactly. So it's like, are people just missing, or are these like weird unsolved murders?
Yeah, I mean, we should go back and watch some of the sequels. Nancy does pop up later in a few of them as like an older, more wiser person. So that will refresh my memory. But I forget how they explain that. Yeah. But great movie. I think it's super well done. It's very scary. This first one is not too comical. Probably like the very last chase sequence with Freddy in her house is a little funnier than the rest of the movie. But overall, it's pretty scary, and it's not until the sequels that Freddy gets like really over the top. And what I love most about the movie is that like he's made it Wes Craven's made it in a way that's very dream-like. So like dreams, as my good friend Madonna would say, no end and no beginning. And the movie's kind of like that, where like the scenes just kind of like flow into one another, and they'll be like, Nancy will be like, I'm gonna go to sleep, wake me up in 10 minutes, and was like, what? And then the next scene is just like Nancy opening the door outside, and you're like, oh, okay, what's happening? Like, you don't even know when the dream starts, because it's just like that. And that's very much like what a dream is like you don't remember a dream starting, you're always just there. And I find that very interesting, and I think that Wes Craven does a really good job of putting that into motion on the movie, and that's what I appreciated about it so much, and that it's just so different. It's like, I love dreams so much. I think it's so fascinating that it's like this mystery still of like science that people just still don't know really. Like, they know that like our brains fire these things, and like we see them, and it's usually events that happen to us throughout the day or later or whatever. It's still, they don't really know. So I find it fascinating.
Yeah. I mean, I have crazy things where I dream stuff, and I swear to God, it does eventually happen, or it's like a deja vu kind of thing, but it's not that I've lived it before. It's like I've dreamed it. Very weird. Is it a Freddy Krueger thing? I don't know. Okay, my favorite thing about this movie is that just like the little touches that involve Freddy Krueger are very interesting to me. So the him himself. Okay, so why is his face all like busted like that? He didn't look like that before. It's because he's like a burn victim.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, he got burned up.
Okay, he got burned up, so it's a burn.
It's
thing.
a burn.
So in addition to like this gnarly, burned, holy Mr. Boogedy kind of style face, he like keeps like slitting open bits of his body, and there's like green instead of blood, it's like green slime, green ooze, goo, whatever, and like sometimes maggots in there, and he just like does it for fun. He's like, "Look at this, ha ha!" and like slices himself open, and these like maggots come out. Obviously, the tomato knife fingers are a huge part of his character, and they use that, especially the sound of those, on all these different surfaces that make it very scary. The fact that he has like this dirty sweater, very scary. The like tongue. There's this scene when he goes, "Nancy, I'm your boyfriend now," like through the telephone, and like this tongue comes out of like the receiver.
That's so gross.
Oh. Or in the the bathtub scene. We didn't talk about that scene, but
yeah, it's great.
She's taking a bath, trying to relax. Obviously, a very easy place to fall asleep. And the mom's even like, "Nancy, like wake up in there. Like you don't want to fall asleep in the bathtub. You could drown. People do it all the time." And that's kind of funny because you're like, okay, she could die in there, but not because she's going to drown. It's because she would fall asleep and Freddy could get her in the dream. So she's like kind of nodding off, and you know, she's in a bathtub with her legs kind of spread, and the knife hands come up through the water. Ooh, God. And then, like, go back down once, like, the mom knocks on the door. Very, very scary.
But then he pulls her down, and, like, there's, like, this endless abyss, like, beneath the tub, which is really spooky. Yeah, the thing that is spookiest to me is the Tina and the bloody body bag. I found was like very scary, and I always forget that is in this movie, and the image is like so arresting, and the one where he's like dragging her through the halls in the bloody body bag is wild.
And I want to say the blood in this movie is so red. It is disturbing, like almost bright, more red than I've ever seen in like any horror movie. It was really, really scary.
Yeah, I love that. It's very Argento-esque. But it's just, yeah, I mean, like, Wes has always had, like, and that's why I always appreciated this over, you know, Friday the 13th or, I mean, Halloween's okay, but, like, you can really tell that Wes Craven has, like, a passion for filmmaking, whereas I feel like other horror movies, like Friday the 13th, it's not like a director who's like, I don't know, it's just like not
that
they're
movie
not
is
as much
terrible.
care and like thought behind it. Like I just really admire this movie and Wes, and he died unfortunately like almost like 10 years ago now. So R.I.P. Wes, we miss you. But he's just done a lot of great service.
Down to like his name. I mean, you have to be involved in a horror movie if your name is like
Wes Craven?
And he did look kind of spooky too.
No, he looked sweet. He looked like a sweet old man.
He was kind of like spooky looking.
No, I don't think so.
I always thought he was like Freddy Krueger in my childhood mind.
What?
Yeah.
How did you even know what he looked like?
I would see him somewhere.
Interesting. So the sequel I mentioned earlier, Wes Craven's New Nightmare, is it's really meta, and it's like Heather is like plays herself as an actress, having played Nancy Thompson in this series, and like Wes Craven's in it, and Robert Englund's in it as like themselves. And so but then like Freddy like actually gets like manifested somehow. So it's really good. I actually really like that movie. I want to watch it again actually in the Halloween season, which I will. But yeah, so great stuff. But yeah, anything to mention else?
I just want to mention 2 more things. So I would like to bring back the sweater vest for fall. My one complaint about fall is that, especially now, global warming styly, it's too hot, right? Or it's cool in the mornings, and then you're like, yay, I can wear my sweater today. And then by the afternoon, it's really hot. So here I think that why the sweater vest was like such a good idea, because you have like the sweater style look, but no sleeves. So, you know, you could be a little bit cooler. You weren't just like sweating it up. So Nancy rocked some. You had Glenn in this Nike version. I just think maybe it's time. I did have a sweater as a vest at one point, I remember. Ninth grade, I want to say. It was kind of like that kind of nerdy,
I wore it on the first day of
style.
school, and that was it.
Yeah, right? Which it was too hot.
Yeah.
Because it was like early
Yeah,
September.
it was always too hot in the summer.
And then I just want to note the addition of the greaser, bad boy greaser in this. Love how 80 movies just like put in the greaser and you know like that dude
Bad news.
Bad news. He's a greaser. And that's the character of Rod. He has, you know, the black pants, the leather coat. He has like a greaser Danny Zuko do. Just want to say I appreciate that.
Sweetie loves her greasers,
love the
even
greasers.
though they're rape artists.
Yes,
sometimes.
and I just love how they're like, okay, we're going to make that guy look like that, and everyone's going to know he's no good.
It's so weird. It's not like people dressed like that in the 80s.
I mean, that's what I'm saying.
I don't get it.
Like Monster Squad,
yeah,
Rudy.
Like
Greaser.
what?
Yep.
Weird.
This guy, greaser.
Yeah, that's so
Something
true.
else, someone else was a greaser.
So
We
true.
were watching Uncle Buck. Wasn't that guy a greaser?
The toothpick guy?
Yeah.
Kinda.
Pal?
Pal. I hate Pal. What? Pal's nasty. Go greasers.
Yeah. Go greasers, go greasers.
It's a greaser.
Yeah,
What?
you're the one that I want. Do I watch one? Honey. I was just listening to the Large Marge sent us soundtrack. The Spotify
yeah.
playlist we had.
Oh, yes.
Guys, there's some good jams on.
Great reminder, sweetie. We have a playlist called Large Marge Sent Us. I don't know. It's called something. Search for it. It'll come up.
Jams.
All the songs that are from all these movies that we've talked about, which we've talked about so many movies, guys. So it's great.
God.
So yeah,
It's a great
give that a
playlist
listen.
because
Have we been adding things to it?
I have, when I remember, I'll go through the
forgot.
list again. I'll add some more. But what I like about it is like, you know, they'll be like, okay, Wind Beneath My Wings, Circle of Life, Disney, Let's Go Fly a Kite, Mary Poppins. I mean, the range
all
of
over
the
the place.
songs is all over the place, which is kind of like what the podcast is. But it really is something for everybody, I just want to say.
Great.
Also, reminder that this is spooky month. We're going to try to do at least 2 more movies. And also to look back on our archive, and I will put this on our Instagram story about all the other spooky movies we've done, because all I do is go for walks now that I'm on maternity leave. So I'm always listening to old podcast episodes. And we did some real gems back in the day, I want to say. And those episodes, while, you know, were shorter and a little bit of our, you know, we hadn't quite got our style yet, are quite good.
So good.
So shout out to the old episodes.
Yeah.
I'll be highlighting them in the last couple days before Halloween. And that's all I have to say.
Great.
I'm here with Sweetie in her apartment.
Great reminders.
We haven't been able to podcast together in a while. She usually comes to me, but it's hard with the baby. So I'm baby free right now, and I'm just with Sweetie like we used to, and it just feels really good. I just want to say.
All right. Woo, yeah.
I miss my baby, but this has been great.
Yeah. Sorry, Ronnie. Love you. All right. Well, thank you for listening. Come find us on Twitter at The Sweetie Club or on Instagram at Large Marge Sent Us. Thank you, as always, for listening. Bye.
Bye. Freddy Krueger's the rape artist.
Oh, yeah.